Hey, how are you? My name is Jeremy. I'm going to be reading from this book, Leadership Theory and Practice by Northouse. I'm in Chapter 8, Transformational Leadership, page 164, Transformational Leadership Defined. The emergence of transformational leadership as an important approach to leadership began with a classic work by political sociologist James McGregor Burns titled Leadership in '78. In his work, Burns attempted to link the roles of leadership and followership. He wrote of leaders as people who tap the motives of followers in order to better reach the goals of leaders and followers. For Burns, leadership is quite different from power because it is inseparable from followers' needs. Transformational versus transactional leadership. Burns distinguished between two types of leadership, transactional and transformational. Transactional leadership refers to the bulk of leadership models which focuses on the exchanges that occur between leaders and their followers. Politicians who win votes by promising no new taxes are demonstrating transactional leadership. Similarly, managers who offer promotions to employees who surpass their goals are exhibiting transactional leadership. In the classroom, teachers are being transactional when they give students a grade for work completed. The exchange dimension of transactional leadership is very common and can be observed at many levels throughout all types of organizations. While exchanges or transactions between leader and member are a natural component of employment contracts, research suggests that employees do not necessarily perceive transactional leaders as those most capable of creating trusting, mutually beneficial leader-member relationships. Knotgrass in 2014. Instead, employees prefer managers to perform transformational leadership behaviors such as encouraging creativity, recognizing accomplishments, building trust, and inspiring a collective vision. Knotgrass in 2014. In contrast to transactional leadership, transformational leadership is the process whereby a person engages with others and creates a connection that raises the level of motivation and morality in both the leader and the follower. This type of leader is attentive to the needs and motives of followers and tries to help followers reach their fullest potential. Burns points to Mohandas Gandhi as a classic example of transformational leadership. Gandhi raised the hopes and demands of millions of his people and in the process was changed himself. Another good example of transformational leadership can be observed in the life of Ryan White. The teenager raised the American people's awareness about AIDS and in the process became a spokesperson for increasing government support of AIDS research. In the organizational world, an example of transformational leadership would be a manager who attempts to change his or her company's corporate values to reflect a more humane standard of fairness and justice. In the process, both the manager and the followers may emerge with a stronger and higher set of moral values. In fact, Mason, Griffin, and Parker in 2014 demonstrated that through transformational leadership training, leaders were able to enhance their self-efficacy, positive effect, and ability to consider multiple perspectives. Their findings suggest that transformational leadership can result in positive psychological gains for both leader and follower. All right. Pseudo-transformational leadership. Because the conceptualization of transformational leadership set forth by Burns in '78 includes raising the level of morality in others, it is difficult to use this term when describing a leader such as Adolf Hitler, who was transforming but in a negative way. To deal with this problem, Bass in '98 coined the term pseudo-transformational leadership. This term refers to leaders who are self-consumed, exploitive, and power-oriented with warped moral values. Bath and Riggio in 2006. Pseudo-transformational leadership is considered personalized leadership, which focuses on the leader's own interest rather than on the interest of others. Bass and Steidelmeier in '99. Authentic transformational leadership is socialized leadership, which is concerned with the collective good. Socialized transformational leaders transcend their own interests for the sake of others. Howell and Avalio in '93. In a series of 4 experimental studies, what was that? In a series of 4 experimental studies, Christine Barling and Turner in 2011 set forth a preliminary model of pseudo-transformational leadership that reflected 4 components of transformational leadership discussed later in this chapter: idealized influence, inspirational motivation, intellectual stimulation, and individualized consideration. This model helps to clarify the meaning of pseudo-transformational leadership. It suggests that pseudo-transformational leadership is inspired leadership that is self-serving, is unwilling to encourage independent thought in followers, and exhibits little general caring for others. A pseudo-transformational leader has strong inspirational talent and appeal, but is manipulative and dominates and directs followers towards his or her own values. It is leadership that is threatening to the welfare of followers because it ignores the common good. I said Siri, and she popped on the iPhone. To sort out the complexities related to the moral uplifting component of authentic transformational leadership, Zhu, Aviol, Riggio, and Sozik in 2011 proposed a theoretical model examining how authentic transformational leadership influences the ethics of individual followers and groups. The authors hypothesized that authentic transformational leadership positively affects followers' moral identities and moral emotions, their empathy and guilt. And this in turn leads to moral decision making and moral action by the followers. Furthermore, the authors theorized that authentic transformational leadership is positively associated with group ethical climate, decision making, and moral action. In the future, research is needed to test the validity of the assumptions laid out in this model. Alright, we're going to end there. That is Transformational Leadership from page 164 to 166. See ya.